Eternal good, His mercy endures forever. He's awesome. He'll take you through the water. In His awesomeness, He will take you through every situation that you face. And it's never going to be a life where you don't have difficult times. The power and the problem is when we lose our faith in the Creator. Shabbat Shalom. This Parshah opens Behaalotecha Moshe Aaron ve'amarta elav Behaalotecha et hanerot el mul b'nei hamenorah Ya'aru Shivat Hanerot. When you light the candlestick. When you light the candlestick. After the camps are arranged around the Mishkan is the tent of meeting. In Bamidbar and Naso, the first two Parshah in the book of Bamidbar, the camp moves forward, beginning its task and its trek through the desert in Parshah Behaalotecha. At the onset of the journey, there are two verses that are really set off and set apart. And I want you to notice, if you would please, chapter 10, verses 35 and verses 36. Chapter 10, verses 35 and verse 36. If you look at verse 35, you see that inverted nun. You see the inverted nun, and then at the end of verse 36, you see another inverted nun, blocking off this very particular section of Torah. And it says, Wayehi bin Soah, Wayehi bin Soah, Ha'aron Wayomer Moshe, Huma Adonai, V'yakutsu Ovecha, V'yakutsu V'sha'echa, Mifanecha. Every week that we open the Aron Kodesh, and that Torah is taken out of the Aron Kodesh. When we're standing up there, we say it came to pass. When the ark set forward, then Moses said what? Rise up, O Lord, and let what? Thine enemies be scattered. And let those, or let them that hate thee, flee from before thee. And when we return the Sefer Torah to the Aron Kodesh, we say, and when it rested, he would say, return, O Lord, unto the 10,000s of the families of Israel, coming forth and going back. The Torah coming into our midst, and the Torah returning to the Aron Kodesh. What is interesting about this, I believe, as I mentioned at the onset of service today, there have been some that have taught that those verses constitute an entire book. An entire book of Torah. They said because the Lord rise up to scatter the enemies, but when times are not volatile, when times are tranquil, when danger is not there, no fear of persecution, but we have a fear about people losing their way. Fear about people losing their way because they don't think that Shabbat is that important. It's more important that as you're an Israelite, if you know that you got the 3 holy days. They want to reduce to importance Yom Teruah and Shavuot, and Sukkot, and almost eliminate the importance of the Shabbat. But this candlestick, as we read in Zechariah, and as we read about lighting it, and only the Kohen was to kindle this 7-branch candle. It's the same one, if you've ever seen any of those historical pictures, in the reliefs when the Romans conquered Jerusalem, you see them carrying off the menorah. Have you ever seen that in the book? They're carrying off that 7-branch menorah. So in other words, they say that we have taken Israel's light away. We have snuffed out Israel's light. When we are in difficult times, we're quick to ask God to rise up. We're quick to ask God to make those who want to oppress us, let them be scattered from before us. But I believe that we're doing ourselves a disservice as a people when we are not continuing to maintain, to sustain, and to hold on to Sefer Torah. The question should be, when we said, let your enemies be scattered, does God have enemies? Who would be the enemies of God? I believe the answer is anyone who hates the children of Israel. Anyone who hates Am Yisrael, the people of Israel. Because we strive, or we're supposed to strive, to do the will of God. We're supposed to strive to do the will of God. And sometimes those who stand against us don't realize that they're standing against God. Therefore, we ask God to rise up. So it is important for us to return wholeheartedly. So when we take the Torah and place it back and say, return, O Lord, that's also a cry to each of us. Every week to return. To come back. To be drawn to understand that this is the essence of who we are, and if it's not your essence, then I'm afraid that you're not really Israel. It's pretense. And this is not about pretending. I told you before, you can't be decked out on Shabbat and have no implication or sign whatsoever that you are different when you walk the streets Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. People should look at you and see that that man, that woman, that young kid, there's a little something different about them. But we're in a culture, in a society where difference is shunned. Half the young brothers with their pants down, do they know why they're wearing their pants like that? Do they really know? Or are they simply following behind something that they've seen others do, so it must be okay? Maybe Israelites think that that's okay too. I don't know. But we are called to a higher order. Have any of you ever learned anything and what you learned made you feel good? Has learning ever made you feel good? To acquire a bit of knowledge. And then what did that specify to you? My goodness, there's so much more to give. This is about more than not eating pork and shrimp. It's about so much more than that. It's about more than, Saturday is Shabbat. It's so much more than that. What are we giving to our children? Do they know the Shema? Do they know to put in themselves? And when they know it, do they question you on what you taught them? And what do you tell them? And they're never too young to start engaging them in these conversations. They're never too young to learn to bless their food, to learn that we have respect for the eternal. When we sit down to eat, that we just don't start fressing like animals do. But that we do a bracha, we do a blessing. That the table that we eat our dinner and breakfast on serves as an altar. That this candlestick just doesn't represent the 7 days of the week, but as I tried to point out to you in my little tidbit in the Kabbalah, we learned that 6 branches of the menorah represent several scientific and academic disciplines: mathematics, science, rhetoric, literature, history, and geography. And the center branch of the menorah represents Torah. These 7 branches of the menorah suggest that secular learning and faith are not rivals. They are not adverse or at odds with each other. Each has its own concerns and addresses its own sets of questions. Each of them shed light on each other, and together they illuminate our world. So you can't be so full of Torah and you have no knowledge of history. You want some knowledge of history? Come to afternoon service. You can't be so full of Torah and you have no knowledge of literature, no knowledge of science, no knowledge of geography. I love it sometimes when elders ask people, where is such and such? And people genuinely don't know. But before people can move forward, just like we do, we have to get over things that make us hesitate from venturing out. And this is a message I constantly take to the brothers and sisters in New York and Philadelphia and other parts of this country. The hesitation of moving out, of engaging with broader communities and broader societies. That's why you need your education. That's why you need those 6 branches off of the menorah that go with your branch of Torah so that you can sit down and engage intelligently. That's where we have to go. That's the challenge. The challenge is not about today. The challenge is more so about our children and our grandchildren, our nieces and our nephews. My challenge is to embolden them, to congratulate them. These are future, these children, these young people, these 2 young men graduated 8th grade. Do you know that in this city, once some kids graduate 8th grade, that's the highest level of education they ever get? That they have dropped out of school in 9th grade. My wife tells me about kids who came the first day of school and then she saw them again on the 162nd day of school. And said, what can I do past? They can't do anything to pass. When they come in this door, we have an obligation to encourage each and every one of these children through our example of our doing, of our teaching. When they see us, they should want to say, I want to be like Elder so-and-so. I want to be like Sister so-and-so. That brother's always talking about reading something. That sister's traveled here. She's travel. I want to see some different places in the world. I want to see what different things are going on around this country. That's important. Right now, that's important. Right first? I think so. But I'm still not jumping on the video. So we love you. And to all of you who have worked successfully this year in school, Gabe, Michael, Lady, I know you did good. You graduated? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. If I don't mess with her, she knows that. So we say congratulations to you. Can we please give them all a hand? Their success is just not dependent upon their mothers and fathers. Their success is dependent upon all of us as well. Because they are a part of our extended family. And maybe some of you have a greater knowledge of literature. Let it be known. History. So many kids have a problem with math. We have mathematicians. Anybody in engineering? Do that? It's okay. So we love you. We want you to have a wonderful summer. For those of you who have made your graduation, we have a little something for you on behalf of the congregation, just to say to you good luck, and that may God bless you, and God keep you. You may be seated. So let us do our part to share with them and shed upon them the light of the menorah that the Eternal has embedded with us. And it's our obligation, because you can't do everything. And Exodus portion 2, and I'll be done in 2 minutes. I want you to turn to page 615. Moses had a very difficult time. And sometimes in life, we think we have to do it all. We think it all is on us. And if we don't do it, nobody else can do it. We got to do it. Nobody can do it like we do it. You can do it, but you can't do it because I can do it, so I got to do it for myself. Because if you do it, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to redo it anyway. People have that type of situation. When Moses was so overburdened and worn down by it, Moses just said, man, forget it. I don't even want to go. I don't want to go. And the Eternal said, Moses, hold up, brother. Stop right there. Go to verse 16 with me, would y'all please? And help me with this. And the Lord said unto Moses, gather to me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people. Now, that means individuals that are respected by the people. So you see, that means if you're going to be respected by the people, then you have to be walking upright. You have to be walking like Yeshua. Please continue. And also over them, bring them out to the center meeting, that they may stand there with you. Now, Moses, I want them to stand with you. And sometimes, too many times, we think that we have to stand by ourselves. If somebody says, well, is everything up? Oh, everything's fine. You know it ain't. You know it ain't. Well, everything's fine. Oh, it's kosher. You're losing the sight of what it means to be a community. A little bit more. And I will come down to speak with thee. And I will take the Spirit. They shall bear the word of our people with thee. That you don't have to do it by yourself. you're going to be a helper, you got to be there. You have to be there. 18. So this came about after people wanted something to eat, and they were begging and testing, and you know, Moses got so tired, he just wanted to quit. Verse 24, drop down. So now, they get this spirit, this ruach, that the Eternal had put on Moses, is shared now with these 70 elders, because the work and the labor must be spread out, and one person cannot do everything. We must have roles, but we have to be reliable and dependable to be given roles, to fulfill roles. So you can't be a once-a-month Israelite. They say you want responsibility and want to be looked up to and admired. In other words, those things have to be earned. It's demonstrated before it's given. It's not given and then demonstrated. All right. Verse 30. Let's talk. And Moses said unto him, art thou jealous for me, for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, that the Lord would put his spirit upon them. Would that every single solitary one of us would strive for the spirit of the Most High, to be endowed with that spirit, to be a teacher of science, of geography, of history, of math, or of Torah. But we can't have 5,000 Torah teachers and nobody know how to change a flat tire. So the tire gets flat. Let's bring that tire. Someone's going to have to know how to do something. So somebody's got to be a doctor. Someone has to be an engineer. And yes, even some of us have to maybe examine being part of being a politician. Because politics is the control of the scarce resources of a society. And you see what they do with our resources and who they're giving them to. They're not going to the people, but they're going in many, many other places. So I'm going to stop there. I just want you to please think about what I've said today. The work is plenty enough for everyone. But please just demonstrate and exhibit within your own self-being the capacity to do the work. And if you say that you're going to do it, do it. Because if you don't do it, then I'm not going to ask anymore.